Hey everyone, Cutroneo here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is video number 15 in my progress video series on Saudade No. 3 by Roland Dyens. And what you just heard was my first performance of the day. And as you noticed, the things that I worked on in the previous video, learning the 3 new lines, is there but not really there. And so obviously in my practice and in my working on the third section of the piece, I'll focus on refining the memory there, as well as refining the memory of a few sections of that third movement. Based off the performance, that first performance, the same things that I've been focusing on practice-wise, I've been continuing to do in the review stuff of the first and second sections. So the triplet area, this part, still working on counting. Actually, today I'm still not feeling good about the rhythm in that opening line. And today I really focused on the rhythmical breakdown of this part, working with the metronome. So we got an eighth note there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're kind of like two or a sextuplet, the 16th note sextuplet there, maybe a 32nd note sextuplet. Getting at least the breakdown of where that fits in rhythmically. The hard thing is that it does speed up as it goes. 1 E and going that way. In working on it, I can nail that section on its own. It's bringing it back into the shape of the phrase that is proving to be challenging at the moment. So that's what I will continue to work on. The other areas, this is working pretty good. This was better in the final performance than the first performance. So overall, it's just a big consistency thing happening in that section, I feel. The second 5 minutes, I'm working on this. I feel like kind of a little bit of a broken record because it's been the same thing for almost a week or so. So in the first performance, felt a little that didn't feel too good, but after working on it for those 5 minutes and then playing through it again, I did notice a big improvement. Going into the second section, I really focused on the counting of the hammer-ons from nowhere section. Really just focused on the counting and paying attention to that. I know what the notes are, so I feel that the counting is really the important part here now, because I always get thrown off on the rhythm. And actually, that, I think, worked really, really well. You will see in the performance. I'm really focused on counting that section. I would argue that it's not really grooving yet because I'm so focused in on the counting. And you can kind of see it in my face, I think, that you can really see that I'm super focused on that. But it worked. I think that's one of the few times where I'm able to play through that in the performance and have that section go well without having too many difficulties in it. So I think that's going to be the way to focus on that section moving forward. I worked on the melody of the A section of that second part. Singing the letter names is proving to be way more a tongue twister thing for me than anything else. There are a handful of really fast notes that just sort of get me. So this part, that part where I'm going C, F, A, C, F, A, B, G, D, B. When I'm doing that, doing that fast, I get tongue-tied. And so I'm just going to continue drilling out those letter names, and it's getting easier, but I do get stuck every once in a while. Going into the third section, something that I noticed is, especially with all these repeated, I can really feel up here that I'm getting tired, and it's a lot of repeated fingers that are going back and forth. So in practice, I'm trying to be just aware of that throughout whatever it is that I'm doing. And some things that I noticed is, for instance, the right hand control. So that way the fingers are preparing right on those strings without missing them or without sort of feeling extra tension. And so I'm really going slow. And you can see that index finger missed that string and it had a problem preparing. So those are little technical things that I'm really being aware of as working on it. And part of that is just tightening up the hand rather than allowing it to relax. So as I play, oh, and that's got to be I there. So right there at the very end, I tightened up getting to that note and I missed the preparation of that. So if I go even slower, so that feels better. And just working on not tightening up and tensing up, especially this part of my arm. And I can feel that sort of, even in the performance I work on. And it sort of comes in a little bit with like the loud accented volumes. So really just working on developing that touch and that release of energy dynamically even going forward. This worked on that a little bit, and again sort of the same thing, that thing. Something that I noticed is that in the repeat that happens in that section, I've got to play extra chords. So I didn't do that in the performance, so that'll be something that I focus on. And then this section, so that whole part, making sure I'm getting the right bass notes at the right time. Into that section as well. Again, just working on the right hand patterns there. I did a lot of counting of this. E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a... Rhythmically it seems simple, but there's so much going on that it's very easy to sort of get off. Just knowing what's going on there rhythmically. So finally, I finished learning the piece, as you'll hear in the final performance of today, and the largo section was fairly easy to work on. I spent 15 minutes counting, singing letter names. There's some interesting rhythms going on here with some 16ths and 8th note triplet stuff, and some fingering choices that I decided to change. So for instance, Dyens has 4, 4, 3, 1 here, and grabbing 2 there. My hand doesn't like that, so I'm doing this. What I'll do is after the performance of this piece, we'll come back and I'll talk to you sort of what my plan is for going forward now that I have the whole piece under my belt. So here's the final performance of the piece for today. So I've accomplished my first initial goal, which is learning the whole piece. In 15 days, I have the whole piece memorized. It's still rough around the edges, very rough around the edges in performance, but I have the whole thing as a piece now, which is really great. So going into a June 30th performance, today's June 4th, and so going into a performance for this piece, 26 days from now, I have a lot of time to work on polishing the piece and working on these aspects of it. So this is going to be the game plan moving forward with this piece. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to still have 45 minutes to practice this piece, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 15 minutes sort of looping different excerpts of technical areas that I've been working on, or maybe even neglecting due to just getting through to this piece. And I might not get through all of them in one day. It's just going to be a big loop that I just work on for each one. That's going to leave me 30 minutes to actually work on the piece. So I'm going to then split that time up, and 15 minutes I'm going to spend directly on refining the third movement. Making sure that I can count through it, making sure that I'm dealing with the technique, tensing up things that I've been noticing in it, and just making sure that it's solidifying itself, because that still is very much a volatile area. Then I'm going to rotate 15-minute days. So then I'm going to, the last 15 minutes, I'm going to every other day rotate sections of the piece. So one day I'm going to spend 15 minutes on the opening, the first page, and then one day I'll spend 15 minutes on the second part. And I'm just going to rotate those back and forth every other day. And that's going to provide me with the ability to use my time a little bit more wisely. I'm going to have a full 15 minutes to focus on specific things. Not even worried about technical stuff, because the technical stuff is being covered in a separate 15-minute section. And that, I think, is going to really help bring the piece together quite well. So on the videos that we're going to see from now on, at least for this week, you're going to see a performance of the sections that I work on, because I'm not going to be working on the whole piece. I'm kind of treating this as 3 movements of a larger work, and that's just to give me a little bit of recovery time going from section to section as I practice it. So what will happen is that I'll sort of go over each section. I'll work on the first, like let's say tomorrow I'm going to work on the first section and the third section, and the video will be split up that way. So you'll hear the first section, the opening. I'll talk about what I practiced. You'll hear the performance after practice of that. And I'll do the same thing for the third section going forward. So if you've made it to the end of the video, please hit that thumbs up button. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell notification button so that way you get notified every time I release a new video. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.